Science fiction has a growing issue. Too many series overstay their welcome and run for far too long, losing their original creative spark and leaving fans disappointed with lackluster conclusions due to poor management. However, there is one series which managed to pack itself up neatly, and within this series there is a book which I believe is one of the greatest conclusions in science fiction, Lisa Overdrive. This is Sean from If Else. This of course is an opinion-based review, so I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy. Lisa Overdrive, the sequel to Count Zero and Neuromancer, is part of a groundbreaking series that defined an entire genre. Yet, unlike other iconic sci-fi franchises such as Star Wars and Halo, which have struggled under the weight of tangled lore, retcons, and mismanagement, this series avoided becoming a sprawling mess. The author William Gibson faced the proverbial beast of an extended universe, the lure of greed, and said no. In doing so, he created a novel that should stand as the gold standard for managing a sci-fi series. Lisa Overdrive not only resolves the immediate character arcs within its pages, but also skillfully ties up the overarching plot lines that span the entire series. Today we will take a two-pronged approach in our review and analysis, first examining the characters and themes as usual, and second exploring the series-wide narrative, what we'll call the Loa arc. Through this we will begin to understand a framework for which sci-fi should adopt for any future series. Effectively, just wrap it up neatly. Lisa Overdrive has four central characters. Kumiko, the daughter of the Yakuza's most formidable fixer, Yanaka, has been sent to London to escape the turmoil of an impending Yakuza civil war. Grieving and questioning the recent loss of her mother, she struggles to adjust to her new life in this unfamiliar city, until she forms an unexpected bond with a mysterious new friend. Mona is an unassuming but beautiful young woman with a more than passing resemblance to the celebrity Angie Mitchell. She is an innocent and illiterate young woman who has been trapped by drug addiction and prostitution. Being played and coerced by those around her, she is pushed to take a job which she doesn't quite understand. Slick Henry, a struggling artist and ex-thief scraping by in the desolate ruins of Dog Solitude, a decaying factory he calls home, spends his days crafting intricate automatons. Deeply in debt to Kid Africa, a notorious fixer, Slick finds himself reluctantly accepting a supposedly easy job to pay it back. At the center of the events of Count Zero, Angie has since become a celebrity. Now in recovery from a debilitating drug addiction, she finds herself haunted by the mystery of her lover Bobby's sudden disappearance. Though she retains her unique ability to interface with the Matrix, the enigmatic Loa, who once reached out to her, have remained silent for some time. These characters are swiftly drawn into the unfolding events of the Loa arc, a saga which began 15 years ago with the growing power of artificial intelligence. Neuromancer introduced us to the Sprawl, a world of high-tech, low life, the origin of the infamous and deranged experiment of Night City, and of course, cyberspace. It is during Neuromancer where we witness the merging of two incredibly powerful AI owned by Tessier Ashpool, named Wintermute and Neuromancer, to form what we may call Wintermancer, resulting in its ascension to a higher plane of existence, proclaiming, "I am the Matrix case. Nowhere, everywhere. I'm the sum total of the works. The whole show." In Count Zero, whispers of a mysterious presence in the Matrix gradually take shape. There's things out there. Ghosts, voices. Oceans had mermaids and we have a sea of silicon. Culminating in the revelation of the Loa, voodoo gods manifesting within cyberspace. Operating from the shadows, these enigmatic entities wield their power to protect Angie, thwarting the deadly schemes of Herb Varek and ultimately ensuring his destruction. This leads us to Lisa Overdrive, where the Loa have once again withdrawn into the shadows. I've discussed this topic in greater detail in my reviews of Neuromancer and Count Zero, linked below, and I feel I'm well positioned to do it as I'm a machine learning engineer. I think this theme of AI is incredibly pertinent to the times we live in. This series acts as a mirror to our own society where powerful AI is being created and owned by the billionaire class, and we don't quite know where it's going to go. But I can assure you, it will benefit most the super wealthy. Lisa Overdrive begins by introducing Kumiko, a young woman hastily relocated to London to protect her from a power struggle within the Yakuza. Under the protection of Swain, a corrupt fixer, she encounters the mysterious and enigmatic Sally Shears, who is tasked with protecting her. It quickly becomes clear that this is not our first encounter with Sally, but our second. We were introduced to her in Neuromancer as a protagonist, where she was present during the merging of the Tessier Ashpool AIs to form Wintermancer. This is Molly Millions. I'll use the name Molly going forward. Molly reveals she is being blackmailed and for unclear reasons decides to take Kumiko against Yannika's and Swain's best wishes to the Sprawl. A horrible, diseased corporate mess of a city. Strangeness of the place, with its rot and randomness rooting towers, taller than any in Tokyo. Corporate obelisks that pierced the sooty lacework of overlapping domes. In a dark, damp alleyway, they meet the Finn, now deceased but manifesting as an artificial construct. Despite his passing, his sharp wit and cunning remain palpable, laced with an unmistakable hint of self-interest. I think the Finn is the only character to be present in all three of the main Trilogy books. He typically has played the role as a sort of self-serving but wise advisor to the protagonists. The Finn and Molly discuss the blackmailer, Lady 3 Jane, a member of the Tessier Ashpool clan, and Molly's relationship to her. See, Molly was there 15 years ago when Wintermancer was formed. In fact, she wasn't just there, it was Molly and Case who caused the merging to happen. This event and 3 Jane's insanity set into motion the events that would topple the Tessier Ashpool clan. Following this, and rather abruptly, one of Swain's bodyguards, Petal, arrives, retrieves Kumiko. Against her will, Kumiko returns with Petal to London, effectively ending this thread till the climax of the story. Mona is introduced through a dream sequence, where she is pole dancing before a crowd of men, one of which grabs her leg. At that moment, she tried to scream, only it wouldn't come out, not at first, and when it did, it was like something ripped down inside her. Mona wakes up in a filthy, rundown room next to her boyfriend, Eddie. It becomes evident that Eddie is an abusive partner who strips Mona of her autonomy and agency, taking her money, physically harming her, and exerting control over every aspect of her life. A scam artist by trade, Eddie informs her of a new scheme he claims will lift them both out of poverty. All they need to do is follow a mysterious man to the Sprawl. His name is Pryor. Upon her arrival, Mona takes a large dose of drugs and embarks on an all-night escapade, defying the wishes of her mysterious benefactors and Eddie. At the end of her reckless adventure through the Sprawl, she is found and informed that the group must meet with a surgeon and that Eddie has left in a rush. Here we see a glimpse of her skills. Mona is both observant and clever. Pryor explains that Eddie had left with a line of gambling credit as payment, but Mona quickly notices inconsistencies. Eddie didn't like gambling, and he certainly wouldn't leave behind his expensive clothing even if he planned to replace it. Eddie is dead. Mona is then taken against her will to get surgery. Upon waking up, she realizes she has been made to look like an exact copy of Angie Mitchell. Mona is an interesting character. She has a really strong urge for self-determination, but has not quite acted on it yet. She, in a strange way, represents innocence despite her drug addiction and profession, and she never quite understands what's going on. Certainly, she is the most harmless person we meet in the whole series. Slick is a man deeply in debt. Caught in a dangerous situation with a gang on the brink of death, dangling over the balcony of a tower, He is saved at the last moment by Kid Africa, a skilled fixer. To repay his debt, Slick is assigned a job by Kid Africa. He must look after Cherry Chesterfield, a stunning young doctor, and a man asleep on a stretcher, named Bobby. It's obvious that the man is Bobby Newmark from Count Zero, the console cowboy who helped save Angie Mitchell. Cherry, Slick, and his housemate Gentry collaborate to uncover the significance of the man on the stretcher. Not just his identity, but why he is so important, and why is he hooked up to an Aleph, a piece of technology capable of containing and approximating the entirety of reality. Gentry is particularly fascinated by this technology, as it may answer a question which he has been pondering for some time. What is the shape of the universe? To explore this mystery, Gentry aims to enter the Aleph and measure the shape of the universe within. The Aleph presents an alternative universe, a universe within a universe. It's in this space where they meet Bobby, or the Count. Bobby explains he has entered the Aleph to answer questions. What happened to the Matrix 15 years ago? Why did it change, and where are these Loa coming from? This of course came to the delight of Gentry. I understand Gentry's logic. If he can map this sub-universe, maybe he could map our universe. If our universe has a shape, then what is outside of this shape? Within the Aleph, we also encounter the construct of 3Jane, whose abilities are completely subdued by Bobby and she is rendered harmless. It becomes apparent this Aleph, now under the control of Bobby, used to be owned by 3Jane. He has effectively taken it over. Inside the Matrix, and particularly within the Aleph, Bobby demonstrates his extraordinary power, capable of shaping entire realities and interfacing with the physical world through advanced mechanical and computational means. Angie, a returning character and now a mega celebrity, lives in isolation as she struggles to overcome a drug addiction. She decides to detox her body alone. Her efforts are disrupted when she discovers drugs in her home. At that pivotal moment, the Loa, specifically Madame Brigitte, spoke to her, urging her to resist. She heeds this guidance and refrains from using the drugs. This act leads Angie to begin investigating who is trying to get her addicted. It had to be someone in her inner circle who had access to the house. Angie's story largely revolves around her discussions with her manager and hairdresser. It's during these conversations where she realizes the drugs she is on are harming her ability to interact with cyberspace. However, she does not yet know who is planting the drugs. Furthermore, the mystery of Bobby hangs over her. She refuses to believe her lover just up and left without reason. Wanting to find answers, she departs for the Sprawl. The story's climax unfolds with striking abruptness. Molly Millions rescues Mona from the surgeons, then quickly reaches Angie Mitchell aboard her helicopter. Together, the three set off for Dog Solitude, where Bobby and Slick are encountering trouble. Dog Solitude is under siege as the remaining mercenary forces of the Tessier Ashpool clan close in on the factory. The three women manage to break through the mercenary lines and unite with Slick, Bobby, Gentry, and Sherry. It is here that the final revelations come to light. 3Jane harbors jealousy over Angie Mitchell's unique ability to interact directly with the Loa. Simmering fury at Bobby's control of the Aleph and a thirst for revenge against Molly for actions taken 15 years ago have driven her to follow a violent path. 3Jane has conspired to kill and replace Angie with Mona. She aimed to blackmail Molly Millions and presumably kill her too, as well as kill Bobby Newmark. However, these plans do not come to fruition. Bobby, Molly, and Gentry defend the factory. In very cyberpunk fashion, it is Slick's automaton robots which do the heavy fighting. The Loa, on the other hand, needed someone to grant them access to the Aleph. They turned to Bobby and Angie as their mediums, using them as a bridge to enter it. Their ultimate goal, it seems, is to create and exist within their own universe. It is during the fighting that Angie Mitchell realizes that the physical form of Bobby is not him. That Bobby, her Bobby, is in the Aleph, not just a construct. He is genuinely in the sub-universe, or He is the sub-universe. Only Bobby of all people in this room is not here as Data, and Bobby is not the wasted thing before her. Is Bobby the solid rectangular mass of memory bolted above the stretcher? Upon this realization, Angie Mitchell enters the Aleph, and like her boyfriend, Bobby leaves her human form behind. Slick and Cherry leave the factory together and become a couple. Molly leaves with the Aleph protecting it and those within it. Mona is given a chance to start again and with Angie's wish takes her place. Mona proves herself to be a beautiful and creative artist. Kumiko uncovers the truth about her mother, coming to terms with the fact that her mother took her own life and that her father was not responsible. She decides to return home to her father, who has emerged victorious in the Yakuza's civil war. Finally, Bobby and Angie, along with the Finn, who somehow made it into the Aleph, depart for Alpha Centauri to get answers about the truth of this sub-universe and the universe as a whole, concluding the Loa arc. This is arguably Gibson's most intricate book within the series, weaving together 4 narrative threads. Gibson skillfully develops each character, culminating in satisfying conclusions for their arcs. It can, at some stages, feel a bit rushed. The book is roughly the same length as both Neuromancer and Count Zero, yet has more point of view characters and far more complex threads, so naturally the characters don't have much time, although somehow by the end you really do feel like you know them. However, the narrative really stumbles when it comes to the antagonist 3Jane, whose motives could have been more compelling. Jealousy and pettiness are poor motives. Considering that Lady 3Jane is a billionaire villain, this portrayal might actually be quite accurate, especially since we've seen billionaire villains in our own society behave in similarly vain and self-indulgent ways. It's just in the context of this book, a bit lacking. Furthermore, there are so many players in this high-stakes game that it's really hard to understand their motives and what they're actually doing. The striking example is Continuity, who for some reason, which we do not fully understand, was attempting to get Angie Mitchell addicted to harmful drugs. Finally, disappointingly, the book places less emphasis on world building and the exploration of cyberpunk themes compared to its predecessors. While it still delivers a distinctively cyberpunk experience, there's a sense that it could have delved deeper into these aspects for an even richer impact. In some chapters, you almost forget it's a cyberpunk setting. Now back to my original point. I understand there is a 4th book in the series, but that book, Burning Chrome, is an anthology of short stories, and it fits nicely into the series. I think we can conclude that Gibson did manage to wrap up the major plot points of the series. I will be reviewing Burning Chrome next. Please like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Sean from If Else. In a virtual world, reality is whatever you make it.